All right, we are live. Welcome everyone to the Survivor UConn after show. We have some great guests here tonight and a great interview with our winner. First, let's go around to our guests. As always, we'll start out with the man of the hour, not the man of the hour, but the man of all the hours. Ethan, how are you doing tonight?
Wow, that's way more title than I ever get. I'm doing great. That was such an amazing finale to get to watch back. It's been about a year and a half since we actually made that happen, and it's still super cool. And getting to see all the intricacies of what everyone else was thinking, because it's not my perspective to see the finished product until it's actually there. So it was super fun to get to watch with everyone and interact, and it was an absolute blast. I'm doing great.
All right, next up from Survivor Maryland Season 2 and All-Stars, we have Chris Thomas. Chris, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on, and thank all of you guys for doing such a great job with the season. It was fantastic to watch, and I had a blast.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, Chris. It's great to talk to you. And next, we have our editor and our Season 3 upcoming contestant. We saw a little clip of the logo at the end in the doghouse. We have Cooper Rock. Cooper, how are you?
What's up, guys? I'm happy to be here. I'm glad everybody liked what I've been editing for the past few months.
Cooper's been grinding. It's been awesome. He did an amazing job, and really fortunate to have Cooper on the team. Such a big help after coming off of Season 1, editing Season 2. Cooper doing that himself was a lot better, and he did a great job. And speaking of Season 1, we have our other sole survivor, Alex, Season 1 winner. How are you doing tonight, Alex?
I'm doing pretty good. It's nice to finally get to talk about this season, like spoiler-free, and get to talk about the other winner that we know about so far and not be the only one that's known to the world.
That's true. And speaking of other winners, our sole survivor here tonight, Heidi.
Woo! Woo!
Hey, she is. She's right here. So obviously we are in quarantine right now, but Heidi here is actually my girlfriend. We've been dating for over a year now. We did start dating several months after the season was over, so there was no bias in there at the time. So
if you couldn't tell by my 0 challenge wins and 0 advantages held at every point.
Yeah, there was not much riggage there, but yeah, Heidi and I have been dating since, so she came over and watched the finale tonight, and that was awesome. But yeah, I'm very happy to see Heidi win, obviously. I mean, at the time I was too, but now it's exciting seeing it with you, so really awesome to see that. And Heidi will be here tonight to chat with us. But yeah, let's get right into it. So let me just bring up my notes. They're on my thing here. So let's talk to you first, Heidi, because you're here, obviously. So Heidi, what was it like watching back the finale, and what was this season like for you, just experiencing it?
It was so exciting. It was so fun. It was a year and a half ago now that I played, and it's so weird seeing myself as a freshman because I feel like I was so awkward and babyish and like afraid of everything. And it also, like, I started off that season not knowing what Survivor was really, as I've said multiple times throughout my final tribal council speech. But since then, like, I've played 2 more games, one with Chris and Alex. Like, I feel like I've gained more Survivor knowledge. So it was also like minorly cringy watching myself back, looking at how like clueless I was. Just at so many different points. But it was great. It was really fun.
What was it like having the win under your belt? What did that mean to you once you won by the end and the votes were read?
I mean, it was exciting, but I do think it was more about the it was really validating, I think, to have all the work you put in rewarded with the title of Sole Survivor. Especially as like someone that came into that season with not a lot of confidence. I think you can even see like throughout like my confessionals throughout the season, I start off really timid and shy and like not able to look anywhere at the camera. And even more towards the end, like I can look more. Like tribal council speech was awful, but I think still I think I gained a lot of confidence throughout it, and it was really nice to see it rewarded.
I think the tribal of the season for you was the final 6 tribal, where it seems like the votes are on you, and Alex is trying to just like ease it forward. He lets you know Bijan as the idol. He kind of slips that up, and you take that and you turn things around on Alex, and you get the whole tribe to vote for Alex, who was pretty much Bijan's closest, maybe not ally because he was very close to Carolina, but strategic ally in Alex. So what was that tribal like for you?
That tribal was very nerve-wracking. Ever since the Maddie vote, the NATO Alliance group chat that we had been like dead silent. And just no one was talking to me. No one was talking to me. I kind of felt like the resignation like settling in. But Alex, being one of my like strongest social ties at that time, I met with him right before to talk about it. And he starts telling me like, oh, Bijan has an idol. And I was blindsided by that. I was like, Bijan has a what? I was convinced that all the advantages were like flushed during the Kira vote out. So I remember being like totally taken aback by that, and then not really knowing what to do with the information until I saw Bijan like inside the union, like right before we went outside, and I was like, I need to try something. And then as far as Alex going so far to like tell me I was about to be voted out, I don't necessarily blame him. I don't know how much it was shown, but like that week before, Bijan told everyone that Maddie was getting voted out. He told Carolina. I don't think it was shown, but he told me, like, I met with him before and like tried to get him to not vote for Maddie. So I think Alex was trying to do his own jury management there because Bijan was doing it and getting away with it. But obviously, I fought back a little bit harder than Maddie did, I think, and here I am. So
absolutely, here you are. Last question for tonight because we have a lot to go over. At the final 3, Carolina has a sole vote, and it's you and Bijan that are up for elimination. A lot of the viewers seem to think Carolina was going to vote out you, that Carolina and Bijan have had this tie. Were you surprised that Carolina voted out Bijan instead of you? Were you expecting that going into that final 3, so you were kind of okay with like going with those two? Well, what were you thinking that round?
I think in my confessional, I was wrestling with whether or not I should be campaigning to Carolina or if I should just kind of ease off, because it is only her decision. And at the end of the day, I feel like deep down you kind of know who you're going to choose, and words can only change that so much. I do think I was slightly wrong with that. I think I probably should have done a bit more. But when I was sitting there, and Bijan started telling Carolina, like, you are going to lose to whoever you take to the end. You absolutely owe it to me to take me. I was so glad I did not talk to her as much. Like, I think Bijan overplayed, and in a lot of situations, I might have been underplaying that round. I think me kind of backing her up and kind of stating that I thought she played really well to her kind of saved me. I think the gentler, like, socially stronger approach to that is what got me through instead of Bijan. Because I think even Bijan, Carolina asked me like right before tribal council, she was like, did you meet with Bijan at all to talk about this vote? And I was like, no. Like, why would I meet with Bijan to talk about you voting for one of us to go home? And apparently Bijan like told her that I met with him and talked like a lot of smack about her and told him that like, I think Carolina's a bad player. I think I'm going to wipe the floor with her in the end. And I was like, why would I meet with Bijan to talk crap about you when you're the only one who gets a vote? So I think it was that cool-headedness that kind of saved me there. I think you see Bijan's paranoia build and build and build all season, and I think it erupts, and it's too much in that moment. I think if he was kinder to Carolina and took a more social approach and was like, hey, I really appreciate it if you would take me, like I feel like Heidi will have the votes against you, and like I played so hard, I really want this. Like I think there's a better chance that Carolina would have taken him there.
Thank you, Heidi. Oh yeah, Bijan's sending comments. Bijan said, I had a fake text message ready to send. My name on my phone was Heidi for a year. Man, that man's ridiculous. He was always thinking. But we'll leave it at that for tonight because we're gonna save a lot of this for the reunion. We're just gonna focus on the episode. Of course, she'll be here all night to interject with stuff we have. But of course, congratulations, Heidi. It was great watching you, and I'm very proud to watch you win. I'm very happy. All right, so let's get into the episode. So we start things off with the aftermath of the Alex vote, and people are just kind of explaining how it went down, stuff we kind of already knew. We see Matt specifically is kind of annoyed that this happened. He's like, Bijan like kind of forced me into it, and Bijan's like, I have all the cards, so I made it happen. And it's kind of like I'm very confused coming out of this because it's like everyone feels like they were forced by Bijan, but why didn't like Barrett, Carolina, Matt ever like try and take any narrative there? I feel like Heidi and Bijan really just took a lot of charge there. Do you think Barrett and Matt could have done more at that tribal?
I think Barrett tried. I think he admitted to himself and like to the camera that he didn't really want to go that route, but he didn't really have an option. And rather than just continue to make a bunch more enemies, then he figured he would just appease some people for the vote to try to get some allies going into the next round.
Yeah, I think Bijan also commands so much authority when he tells you that you're doing something that it's hard to be like, oh, Bijan's saying this is happening. So like everyone else must also be saying that this is happening because Bijan's always right about it. And Barrett's not going to be the one that's going to be able to rally the troops to go against it. And I think Matt's someone that could have done it, but Matt also realized that he wasn't in the best position in the game. So if he was like fighting Bijan at the vote, then he didn't want to put himself in a bad position. So it's like really hard to go against someone that's so authoritative when they speak to you about something.
You could see Matt like telling Bijan, no, we should go Heidi, but Bijan is just dead set on Heidi, and he kind of like backs down after that after he sees how like forceful Bijan's being too.
Yeah, I feel like there was obviously room. Alex wasn't going to vote himself. He was writing down Heidi's name, so they didn't need Bijan. There were 3 of them plus Alex. There's your 4 out of 6. But I think Bijan's presence from the very beginning of this game was the controlling figure, the head honcho, the mob boss, and everyone went to him, and he had the final say on things. He voted correctly every time because every vote was what he wanted. So all the power to him for doing that. Other people obviously could have stepped in the way, but just with the dynamics of the game, they didn't and they couldn't. So that's a statement for Bijan more so than other people not even stepping up in my eyes.
So we head into this first challenge of the episode, and it is a sort of obstacle course made up of bits of other challenges with like a slide puzzle at the end. And so the first part is this eating challenge. So you have the sardine. You can eat half a sardine, which is really small. It's just disgusting, in my opinion. And or like 6 saltine crackers, which are easy, but they take some time. It's hard to chew all those, especially without water. And the 3 that go for sardines are Matt, Barrett, Bijan. Bijan tries to send it, and somehow Bijan is the first one to finish. I think you can even see, because I'm the one filming that shot, there's like a delay because I am shocked. Like, were you expecting that, Ethan? Like Bijan to down that?
Bijan didn't even try in like the other eating challenge. He was like, well, fuck it, we're going to lose. But this one, he was like, absolutely nothing in his life. I did not know he had it in him. I was amazed.
it just shows like when it matters, you really grind down and get it. And I think I don't know what I was gonna say, but I really liked that. That was really surprising, and it caught me off guard. It was really funny. And so throughout the rest of that challenge, nothing too notable. You went for the saltines. You could
I
eat.
tried the sardine and I coughed it back up on the plate, which is why I was behind Carolina with the saltines because I attempted the sardine first. I couldn't get it done. That's fine. I caught up.
So we get through the challenge. We have the nuts, which Bijan immediately falls behind again because he can't balance things. We have the dice, which everyone gets through pretty easily, balancing the dice, the popsicle stick. We get to the boot order. Boot order, it's something in season 1. I feel like this season they struggled with it a bit more. I don't know if it was because of the penalty votes, but this was really hard for people. Chris, you had something similar in All Stars. You had like you had to remember all the partners. Was that like something like people in the game like either really knew or they didn't, or did everyone have kind of an idea of that? How did that go in your season?
So Eric King did not know it at all. As soon as he got there, he just like quit. Even though he was in second, he wasn't far behind me at all. That challenge looked like a blowout, but he was in it. He just quit. Luckily, in my season, Victoria had been voted out the day beforehand. And Victoria literally turns to me and is like, Chris, you're my only friend in the game. As I get voted off, I'm giving this to you. And she had like a 10-page book of every single thing that happened in the game. And she's like, this is going to be the next challenge. Study it. You'll be fine. So I just went home and I studied it. And like, so I was able to get through it easily. I don't know if anybody in this season did it, but.
What a legend, Victoria. I never heard that. That is amazing.
Yeah.
I love her. That is awesome. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things to me. It's like I like putting that in a challenge, even though it's not your typical like challenge thing. Because it's like if you're playing the game, you should know these things. That's like that helps you out. Like the partners in your season, that was the big twist this season. And this season, I mean, maybe you're not exactly counting every vote perfectly, but like you should know even what's going on in the other tribes. I feel like in College Survivor, there's no reason you shouldn't be updated on what's going on pre-merge because that could affect you post-merge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like we had it in my season, and I remember the only thing that confused me was that there was someone that had 2 votes because I asked Mark what was going on in his tribe. He just didn't remember like who got voted for who. So like I'm doing my best to like keep track of this kind of stuff. So like sometimes that just happens where like even when you have allies in other tribes, they just aren't like paying as much attention to it. So like I can understand like when it's 3 tribes at the start. I don't know where they had problems with though in this season.
Yeah,
the penalty votes were a part of it. People
the
got
penalty
stuck
votes
on
made
that.
it weird.
But that only affected a few people. I think I don't actually remember where most people got stuck up on it, but they had that was a long challenge. That was edited down.
Yeah.
I know for mine, the only votes against I had incorrect was my own because I didn't count that vote from that very tribal, like voting Alex, because we went tribal right into the challenge, and I forgot I had just received a vote from Alex, so I think that was the one I was missing.
Yeah,
I knew one of them was wrong.
There was
I knew one of them was wrong, and I was like, I'm so close. What is
there's
wrong in
footage
his
from
mind?
after the challenge that like they tell you what you got wrong, and like Bijan got like one who voted Adge out or something wrong, and Heidi was like, "Wait, what do you mean?" And you're like, "You just got a vote," and they tell you, Heidi, they're like, "You just got." She's like, "Oh."
You notice everyone had a couple scribbled note cards because we had to add the votes that had been cast for Alex and Heidi that round.
And so Barrett ends up winning that, which Barrett thinks it's a big win for him. He's pretty hyped because he's been on the bottom. Do you guys think Barrett really needed this? I feel like the only person that needed this was Matt, and if Matt didn't win, Matt was always going home.
I think he needed it. I think if Matt had won, I think Barrett would have gone home, in my opinion. So it was one of the.
Heidi, who did you want to go home at the final 5? Like, did you want Matt to go home as a priority? Like, what was your opinion? Like, what was your guys' opinions on Bijan? Because for the audience, it's very clear that Bijan's like the strongest player at that point.
I think I definitely wanted Matt gone just because, I mean, at that point in time, neither Carolina, Bijan, or I had won a challenge. I knew for me personally, I had some where I was like kind of close, but like I knew there's no way I was beating Matt. And then we'll get to Final Four, but at Final Four, I was like, Barrett's got a few now too. Like, I think he probably would have beat Bijan if Barrett wasn't also drunk. So I think that for me, like trying to give myself some chance to win a challenge, because I didn't think Matt was going to take me any farther because I was so openly against him for so long. Matt would have been a target. I think at the time, had Matt won, and it would have come down to Barrett, Carolina, or Bijan. Again, this is part of like I'm looking back on how I used to play and cringing. I think I would have voted Barrett out like an idiot when really Barrett was the best chance to beat Matt. So I should have voted Bijan in that scenario just because I think Barrett would have potentially beat Matt. Finally could have voted Matt out, and then I gotta hope that Barrett takes me to the end, or I can sneak out a win. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't believe him. I didn't believe it at all. But
Yeah, I think if Barrett goes out at 5, there's a very real chance Matt wins out, which is kind of nuts. That would be 6 immunity. Oh no, yeah, because he would have won that one, so that would have been 6 immunities. He would have won every challenge post merge that he was in, which because he missed one, he wasn't there for the first merge challenge, and then he had to sit out of one as a result of the penalty box. So yeah, that would have been crazy. But
would he have won the game if he got to the end, winning every challenge?
So you can tell it's Heidi, but I think I'm pretty sure Matt is the biggest jury threat this season. I think the viewers really like are stuck on like, well, why isn't Bijan going out? But like Matt, because of the position he was put in and how close he was to those allies, you look at the jury, you have Hope, you have Robbie, and you have Barrett. Those are all locks for Matt, and plus 1 or 2 more at least.
Yeah, I think Bijan would have wiped the floor with anyone besides Matt. I think there's a chance that Matt would have beat Bijan. Not necessarily for playing a better strategic game, because Matt kind of put himself on the bottom, like, a lot. But I think that Matt had a lot more friends on the jury, and I think the physical game would have become, like, oddly attractive to people, especially if they were mad at Bijan. Like, just the, like, pure, like, grit of Matt winning out for that long, I think would have impressed a lot of people.
Chris, you in your season, slight spoilers here, but I assume everyone here that's watching UConn season 2, I feel like most people would have watched Maryland All-Stars, but obviously Chris wins Maryland All-Stars. So Chris, you won a lot of immunities in that season. Was it 5 or was it 6? It was a lot. But
I think it was 5 for myself, and then I think I won a 6, which I gave to Alex.
Right.
Yeah.
So you won a lot of immunities. Do you think at Final Tribal people cared at all about that? Like, I feel like when you hit that much, it's kind of significant. It's better than like 2 or 3. Or do you think people cared more about your relationships in game?
I mean, it's definitely like a feather in your cap to say, like, hey, I won a bunch of immunities. You couldn't vote me out, but there's a difference. I think for my season, like I was eligible to be voted out at Final 6, and I didn't. I don't know when the last time Matt was. I guess he wasn't ever able to be voted out. So that's a little bit different because I don't know. From my experience watching Survivor, I've seen pretty much every season. Usually when the person's like at the bottom, they go on the immunity run, you're like cheering them on, you're like screaming their name at the TV. I didn't get it with that. I don't know why, but I couldn't root for him. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah,
I think Matt never felt like he was on the bottom. Matt was still like a big figure who had been a big part of things going on. So he didn't feel like the underdog, even though it was like win or go home situation for him.
Yeah, I feel like with Matt, it also is like it feels like a lot of those like underdogs. You feel like, oh, they got the floor taken out from under them, and it was a little with Matt. But I also think it was very clearly Matt's fault, like the position he was put in. Like he stuck really close to the Moynahans, and I felt like instead of he probably could have rode the middle like Bijan Alex did a little more. So I felt like you're like, oh well, you got to deal with what you put yourself in. But I mean, ultimately, I still like Matt, and it was exciting to see him win some, especially just because like I don't know, you want to see the people in the minority win challenges regardless. It makes the game more interesting. But all right, so Barrett wins this challenge, and during this round, Barrett is talking. He's like, Barrett's big move this round is he wants to vote Matt out. What do you think this was a big resume move for Barrett, finally blindsiding Matt?
Ryan, you got to give the guy credit. He realized that it was the right move. He had to vote out his biggest competition threat, and this, I think for Barrett, this was actually like a really big thing for him because he was like brought up in the Moynihan loyalty. You got to stay with your people, and for him to realize, oh, I shouldn't do that. That was like actually like big for him personally. In the grand scheme of the game, didn't really mean anything because I think everyone else was already going to vote for Matt. It was just like, cool, he's also voting with us. But I think personally it was like a big thing for him. It just didn't really matter.
Yeah, Barrett loved the kid, but he did seem out of touch with a lot of the game. So the revelation of joining everyone else rather than voting in the minority, thinking it was brilliant. I don't know. It's not a shocker. I don't know. Barrett amused me every day.
So I guess that's the funny part about actually sitting there and being like a part of the season versus watching it online. Because I couldn't help but root for Barrett the whole season, and I thought if Barrett had got to the end, I thought he would have smoked everybody. Which I guess in reality it would have been Matt. But I thought Barrett had all the friends on the jury. He hadn't pissed anybody off. He was on the bottom, but he was staying alive, even though he wasn't winning challenges. I guess he won a few, but I was rooting for him the whole time, even though I knew Heidi was going to win anyway.
See, I think it's underrated. I know we rag on Barrett a little just because he's not as in with it strategically, and I think us and a lot of the viewers, if you're watching a college Survivor, are really like, oh, strategy, and I mean that's something I love too. But in the end, ultimately, I think Barrett wasn't in a terrible spot and not a terrible game. I think viewing wise, it was a little frustrating, but like when you have all these players like Hope, Robbie, and Matt that would maybe vote for Barrett, like the same thing. They were all in this like alliance together that got destroyed. They would all vote for him. He's a good challenge threat, which would help him through the end if he could have won out. Barrett could have won. Like, I mean, I don't think people watching would have been happy if Barrett bet beat like Bijan or something, but I mean that's how Survivor goes. It's not as pure as just like everyone's like, oh, GameBot, Barrett had the highest voting percentage, or Bijan had the highest voting percentage, so Bijan deserves my vote. That's just not how it goes. But so I think ultimately Barrett didn't play too bad. He had a winning position. I think if he reaches like a him Carolina final tribal, I think it's close.
Yeah, I think his biggest problem was that he reaches the final four. Bijan wins immunity. He looks at the two people he can vote for. It's between Heidi and Carolina, and he thinks, I need to vote out Carolina right here. And then that's where he loses the game, I think.
I was nervous that round because I was thinking Bijan has it. I feel like I'm the second biggest threat in the game, but I think I can sell people on Barrett needs to go because Barrett's the challenge threat. Like you could have this situation where Barrett and Carolina go to the end together. And I think because Carolina had no relationship with Barrett leading up to that point, she was just with me and Bijan, that was an easy pitch. My only concern was that Bijan was like, no, I'm going to take that chance and I'm going to take out my one other opponent. But when Barrett comes to me and he tells me he wants to go for Carolina, I'm like, I'm good. So that was pretty exciting, but yeah.
Yeah, Barrett really needed Carolina. I think they were like the two lower, like visibly jury threats in the totem pole. So would Carolina have voted with them in like tiebreaker day against Heidi? I don't know. I mean, we see Carolina chooses to pick Heidi by the end. I mean, Carolina and Heidi were friends, so like I think by the end that kind of trumps like logical jury threat, which is how it goes sometimes. It's not always going to be as simple as jury threats. And I don't think Heidi was like this extreme jury threat that it was like, oh, not voting for her would be stupid. But yeah, that's just kind of how it goes. So tribal council. Pretty straightforward vote ultimately. Matt does go home unanimously. Kind of been written on the wall for a while now. But you had a fun tribal, huh? What were you doing?
I was drunk. Okay.
You had a few too many shots of Tito's.
I was white girl wasted.
4.5 too many.
So okay, coming into college, I never drank in high school. I was friends with like the valedictorian and the salutatorians, and like all my friends went like Ivy League and shit. They didn't party. I came to college and like none of my floor friends did either really. So the first time I like properly drank was that night, 30 minutes before tribal. Bijan brings Tito's, and I remember asking Carolina how much was in a shot because I was in charge of pouring them, and I had no idea. And Carolina had to talk me through it. So I'm drinking. Tribal is super soon. Like this wasn't like pre-gaming like a bit before tribal. It was like
an hour beforehand or less.
It was like 30 minutes when we started drinking. I take 6 shots because after each shot, I'm not feeling it. And I'm like, this is drunk tribal. I'm supposed to be drunk.
Thank God you didn't take more.
Yeah, honestly. But I remember sitting on my bed and my head just like tilts to the side and my whole equilibrium gets thrown off entirely and all 6 shots hit me all at once. Never taken a shot in my life. I was so plastered. I thought I remembered a lot more of that night than I did watching it back. I did not. I recognize it was bad gameplay to be that drunk, as I was not a contender for the challenge at all. But I did not mean to get that drunk. I was stupid.
I think ultimately it's worse because I think the person who needed the challenge when Barrett was also drunk. Why did he get so drunk?
Yeah, I think Barrett needed it more. I was fine. I just needed Barrett to not win. I didn't feel like I needed it. I just needed Barrett to not have it, and Barrett was also drunk. So
I think we don't see this because the camera footage got corrupted of the angle of Heidi and Barrett, which is why you don't see them much during the challenge. But what's up?
That's fine.
Yeah. You didn't miss much. They weren't. Well, Heidi was not in the challenge whatsoever. She just sat on the ground at one point. But Barrett almost won that challenge. Barrett had all his pieces down, and there was like a square and like a square with a shadow, and he had them like flipped in 2 spots, and he made that call before Bijan did. And then he just couldn't figure out what was wrong. But I feel like a sober Barrett would have actually won that. So that was interesting. Barrett made a poor choice probably with the drinking that night. But maybe we could have seen a Barrett win if that was the case.
Bijan totally went through with his plan to not drink as much too. He had his confession.
Yeah, Bijan's such a liar in the episode. He's like, I'm gonna drink with him. I'll do it. And then he's like sober. He had like 1 shot.
He knew better.
You can go for
Bijan bought alcohol for like 3 freshmen who didn't know anything, and then just left them to play. Barrett and Heidi were wrecks.
Yeah, me and Mark were in charge of the board where they were looking at it to like match it to their own board, and Bijan's like he's running laps over these people, and he's like talking shit to me and Mark, and then we see Barrett, and Barrett's like not far behind him. We're like, is Barrett gonna beat Bijan? Like, is Bijan gonna lose? And then Heidi is like walking over. She sees other people and she's like, oh, I have to run too. And then she runs like when they run. And she gets to the board and Bijan's trying to look at it and she like tries to steal the board away from him. And we're like, Heidi, you can't take the board. And she's like, but I don't want him to have it. And we're like, Heidi,
look at it.
I wish we had that. We lost a lot of footage from that challenge specifically. That was the main one we took hits from. So you see like 2 weird angles, but yeah, that was a fun one. Them stumbling around, and I mean, at a certain point, Bijan and Barrett were like way far ahead of Carolina. Carolina wasn't good at that one. I don't know why.
They just had like a line or 2 more to go. I think she had 8
Okay.
symbols left, and everything she had was right.
Oh, that's good. She was probably going for accuracy, maybe. I'm just making sure. But
Yeah, I think something that Bijan did is he memorized a lot more per time than Carolina did, which kept him ahead of her.
Carolina never asked for a check, but she was 100% right the whole time.
yeah, that's good. Okay, so Bijan actually sneaks out a win. Bijan, who's been like god awful in challenges all season, like one of the worst people ever, like that had any longevity in the game to ever compete in challenges. But
Mark's
he
biggest fan.
got the dub when he needed it. He got a, well, I don't know if he needed it again. As long as Barrett didn't win, maybe that was good. But Barrett almost won, so he needed it, I think. And yeah, Bijan lives to see another day. So another part of the challenge I liked was Heidi thinking the Sharpie bleeding through was another symbol. Well, what happened there?
I don't remember.
Okay.
To tell you.
You're asking the wrong person. I can probably tell you more things about Heidi than she can from that night.
Our producer Tot got Barrett and Heidi some nice cups of water at the end, so they did better after that. And Barrett flames Bijan at the end. What did he say? He was like, "It's hard looking at you, Bijan."
Bijan was looking at the symbols, and he goes like, "I can barely like it's too hard to look at these or something." And then like Barrett yells across, "You're hard to look at," and then they all like freaked out for some reason. Bijan was like, "No."
And then he points to the camera. He's like, Barrett's going out at 4th. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah. Bijan pulls the strings, the Godfather. He's like, "That's it, Barrett. That was the last one."
The whole time, I love that there is like kind of like an underlying like Bijan versus Barrett. Like you have them both say each other for least deserving. Like I thought that was so funny throughout the episode. They both like low-key had like they did not like each other or like were like butting heads.
I love how offended Bijan was by that because Bijan says it. He's like, Barrett has no idea what's going on. And then he's like, but he still had the audacity to write my name down.
Bijan's so funny because he's always saying shit like, he always does this where he like acts so like blatantly hypocritical. He's like, Barrett put me as the least deserving. Well, I put Barrett as the least deserving. But how could he do that? Like, I mean, I get it because like I feel like Bijan was playing way harder than Barrett, but it's still funny. Like he just always is like, how could they do this? But I did it, and that's okay.
I loved every moment that he got mad at Alex for playing both sides and telling the other side when he wasn't voting with them, really. When Bijan was the king of it, he did it every single round. Like, everyone more or less knew what was going on every round more than I think it was shown because Bijan would be like, I need to lock up my jury votes. Everyone needs to know that, like, I'm trying to keep them in. I am.
So the big thing of final... Yeah?
Bijan was managing to convince everyone, like, it wasn't my fault you went home, even though it's his plan every time. It was a masterpiece to watch.
Absolutely. So the big thing for this round is Barrett tries to strike a deal. He says, Bijan, if you bring me to final 3 and I'm voted out at final 3, I'll vote for you. All right? So Barrett's going to vote for Bijan if he gets voted out final 3. And Bijan's like, you're not even promising me final 2, so Barrett's just gonna vote me out. Like, I thought that was so funny. Like, what? I don't know. You think Barrett needs? Oh, and then then Bijan laughs it off, and we get the episode quote. He's like, "I don't need your vote. He'll win regardless." Do you think? How do you think guys think Barrett should have handled that round? Was there a path for Barrett to get to the final 3?
Had he made deals with Heidi before that round? That's like the first time you see the two of them like have strategic talk, I feel like. Was there any like actual communication before that?
No.
Yeah, that was the first time they filmed anything together.
That makes sense. It always felt like Alex and Bijan were so in the middle, and like I felt like if Barrett and Heidi had just like got on the same page for one round, they could have completely flipped the game. But that relationship was just never there.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought like Heidi, Barrett, Matt really needed a better relationship to like, because that's why Alex and Bijan rode the middle, because you guys weren't willing to do anything.
Yeah, I think Barrett, the most he could have gone for is a tie there, because I don't think there's anything he can say to Bijan that Bijan will believe. Oh yeah, Barrett, you know what's going on, and I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but
Bijan always
in
believes
Carolina,
Barrett.
I think he and Carolina should have tied on me, and then Barrett would have beat me in a challenge.
Yeah.
Barrett would have beat me in fire making. Like, I don't even know what it was, but like, I guarantee Barrett would have beat me in whatever.
And I think Barrett has a chance to snag a win against Carolina. I think as much as Barrett has 3 votes locked up, Carolina has 2 or 3 votes locked up there too. So I think she at least has a better chance, because she probably gets Heidi, she probably gets Bijan, she gets Maddie. So that
Alex
is the swing. Yeah. So yeah, because Alex wasn't as close to her as the rest of the people in her alliance. But
why didn't Bijan want to vote for Heidi in that round? What was his reasoning?
In Final Four, it's just because Barrett's the best challenge person. Bijan he's like, shit, I might need to win a challenge. I think that's it.
Carolina and I hadn't won yet. I lose every challenge.
Yeah.
He was talking a lot in the confession. I didn't put it in, but he was talking a lot about how he could specifically beat Heidi and Carolina in a Final 3 challenge. But and then he goes out first, and they both beat him. So
yeah,
he just said it.
Yeah, Bijan said, I feel like.
Go ahead.
No, go.
I was just gonna say, what would have happened if Bijan hadn't won that immunity? Would people finally like, oh, let's vote for Bijan, or would he still just coasted the final?
I don't know. If Barrett wins, which Barrett's the likely winner. I mean, it could be Carolina too, but I don't know. If Barrett wins, do you think? I think if Carolina wins immunity, then it's just Barrett again. I think if Barrett wins immunity, I mean, you try to vote for Bijan, obviously. I think Barrett probably wants to vote Bijan with you. So I think it either ties or Bijan goes home.
Again, this is like I feel like I understand Survivor a bit more. I feel like my best bet would have been to vote out Carolina and then force Barrett to take me to the end, because I feel like he takes me over Bijan. But again, I would not have had that forethought. I think Bijan probably would have went home, and it would have been me, Barrett, Carolina, Final 3.
Good read, Heidi. I 100% agree. I think that was your best path. I think that was Barrett's best path. But I think what happened, and I get why it happened the way it did, given the characters at the time. It's not always about the best path. It's what actually happens.
Exactly. So Barrett got voted out. Do you think all 3 of these people, Bijan, Heidi, Carolina, at that point, that's probably the right move for all 3, I think. I mean, with Bijan winning immunity. I mean, Carolina's the only one I'm like, maybe she should have stuck with Barrett just for like winning chances. But I don't think that was realistic.
I don't think it was. I don't know that there was a reality where that did happen. I think that is the difference. I don't think Carolina was ready to flip on Heidi, because that was her other option in that situation. I think she would rather have brought Heidi along than Barrett.
And then we had Fallen Comrades. Not much to say about those. They're very cute, though, Cooper. I like the interjections of the clips. That's something I wanted to do in season 1, and I ran out of time. Sorry, Alex. I was on a crunch, but we get to our final immunity challenge, and this is also one, I believe, Chris, I think you won this in your season, or in All Stars at least. I don't know about Maryland Outback. It was the bat with the coins, and you have to. Did you win this one? I can't remember.
I did, yes.
Yeah. So this was the bat with the coins. It's actually a challenge derived from Survivor Nicaragua, I think was the first season with it. Fabio wins the Final Immunity Challenge. And then Ghost Island, Dom or Wendell win it. One of them. I don't remember which one.
I think Wendell.
They did it like at Final 7 or 6 or something.
It was earlier. I think Wendell won that one.
Yeah. It was cool to see it back. I always really liked this challenge. Because on the show they use swords. Sick. That's awesome. We use wiffle ball bats. Not as cool. But Bijan, try as he might, never really had a chance in that challenge. I feel like a lot of it gets cut out because it was very long, but he was shaking the whole time. Whereas Heidi and Caroline were chilling, and Bijan was losing it. Like it wasn't ever going to be close, and you kind of could tell Bijan was going to go down. But Bijan goes down, and I think what makes this round interesting, which I was excited to see at the time because I was like, "Ooh, drama," is if Heidi or Bijan win that challenge, it's a pretty clear vote. It's like they're voting out the other one, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
But Carolina, it's interesting. You're not really positive who Carolina is going to vote out. And ultimately, I mean, I follow the season as close as I can. And for the longest time through the season, I thought if this scenario happened, like Carolina wins the Final Mini Challenge, I was like, she's going to take Bijan because they're close. I feel like Carolina kind of had a grasp at the time that she wasn't beating Heidi or Bijan. I think she kind of figured it out by then, especially with like majority rules answers and just the way the jury responded a lot. So I was very surprised to see Carolina choose Heidi to go to the final tribal with instead of Bijan. Do you guys? I put this in the post-episode poll. Do you guys think she made the right decision? Do you think there was any chance of beating either of them, and maybe she just went with like a friend route? Maybe she got hurt by what Bijan said, like Heidi said. What do you guys think about this final decision in the game?
I'm an outsider, but I actually think she had a good chance to beat Bijan. Obviously, Bijan, I'm sure, is a very nice person. He got the villains edit, but he got the Russell Hantz edit. And if there's one person, if you're the GOAT of the season, if there's one person you want to go to the end with, it's the person that everybody dislikes. And I think there was a chance that everyone saw Bijan. He made final two deals with everybody. He backstabbed everybody. And there's a chance that the jury could have hated him. After this conversation we've had tonight, it sounds like it's probably not the case, but there was a chance. I don't think there was any chance she was going to beat Heidi.
I like that take that he got the Russell Hantz edit because that is kind of how it like portrayed, but everyone respected Bijan for what he did the whole time. And I said it in like the live chat during it. Bijan's one of the kindest people I've ever met. Like he says all this shit behind your back.
He's just very cocky. And he's definitely playing it up for the camera.
Playing it up for the camera. And
he knows how to play it.
He's very genuine in reality and a very kind person. And everyone just liked him, even when he was being cocky and like maybe a little rude. They still liked him. There's like, this is fun. This is who he's gonna be. I don't think there was any ill will towards him from anyone.
Yeah, I figured as much. Just the fact that he got as far as he did. With basically everybody working with him. Like obviously everybody loved him, despite me not wanting to root for him.
Well, they kept going to him to flip rather than trying to get him out. Everyone wanted a piece of Bijan.
Yeah, for sure.
I also think you see in majority rules, even though Bijan's already being voted as like biggest threat in the game, biggest liar, he still gets the one that everyone wants to hang out with after the game. Because at the end of the day, Bijan's a cool guy. Like Bijan's cool. He was by far the coolest person in the club, besides like maybe Matt. Like Ryan said, it's a very nerdy club, but Bijan was like a cool dude. But in addition to that, I do kind of agree with you, Chris. I feel like Carolina and I played two similar games.
But you were one step above.
Yeah, you were a step above socially, so I think that trumps any of the gameplay you guys had, which
I think I have the Alex vote, but I also think like Carolina just has like a low, like chiller energy, and I think I was a lot higher energy. And not that necessarily one is better than the other, but I think from like a rooting standpoint, I think my kind of chaoticness watching back, I cringe at like how antsy and like jittery I am the whole season. I think it's a bit more exciting to watch than Carolina's low energy, even though Carolina's so sweet. She's so nice, like such a chill, cool person to get along with. I think she needed to play up the hate on Bijan because we just played too similar. I think with me just being a bit more visible.
Yeah, I think in Survivor, regardless of how you're playing, the energy level and the passion you show comes off to the jurors. Like as a juror myself, I want to vote for someone who I think is like really into the game and really wants that win. I mean, not that Carolina wasn't into the game and didn't want the win. I'm sure she would have loved to win, but I feel like it didn't show on her face a lot of the time how like passionate like she was about it. And everyone in this club is passionate to varying levels, just because like it's such a weird club that you have to have like a certain niche interest to actually try, especially when she's gotten that far in the game. But I think like outwardly it just showed like Heidi like loved the club and loved like hanging around with everyone. That's something that I feel like a lot of the jurors see and like, yeah, want to reward Heidi. I also think back to what we were saying with the decision. I think she probably does lose to Bijan still, but I think she could pick up more votes there, and I think there's more opportunity there. I think, I think you're maybe possibly a vote for Carolina. Obviously, Maddie votes for Carolina, and then maybe there's like Hope, maybe because I don't think Hope really had any like relationship with Bijan. Like
Barrett might hate Bijan enough to vote for Carolina.
yeah, exactly. So if Barrett wants to be, if Barrett's bitter, that's 4 votes there possibly. So that's there was at least a little more potential there, I think. So yeah, I do think it was the wrong decision there, but I think either way it was clearly a tough spot. I also think, yeah, never mind. So moving on, we get to the vote, and Bijan goes home. Obviously, tough thing. Bijan, probably the confessional star of the season. Obviously, he got a lot of confessionals. I think that he had, in terms of confessional count, he had Russell Hansen qualities. I think another. Yeah, I think a viewer was keeping track, and we're a little more balanced than Survivor Samoa, because I think the other people comparatively also got a lot of confessionals. But yeah, he definitely took up the screen time, and I think well deserved. He was definitely the visible star of the season, and it was great watching him and having him be a part of this. And obviously, we will talk to Bijan and. Hopefully the rest of the final 6. I'm trying to do a reunion sometime this week, and so that'll be up on the channel. So definitely check them out. We'll talk to Heidi more. We'll talk to all the final 6, and maybe there'll be some deep dives with individual players on the channel as well. I'm looking to maybe do that. I don't know who this commenter is, but they're talking. Oh, I think this is Nick M. This is I figured it out. Yeah, he's talking about Bijan was in a mini. So there was a mini this summer. There was a lot. First of all, there's a lot of College Survivor like orgs that were going on. Alex, Chris, and Heidi were all in an org. It was where they were on like a winners tribe together, which is why they all know each other. And
ads.
The Chads, yeah.
Chris, Heidi, Alex, and Danny.
Final 4. And then the final 3 was me, Jordan Schubel, and Chris Thomas. And I won on a 4 to 3 to 3 vote, which was very tense and very not a lot of people liked it, but
very controversial.
I was final jury.
It was a fun season.
I got Heidi.
I voted for Chris.
But yeah, there were a lot of orgs this season. One of them was like a College Survivor mini, and like Alex just said, he won that mini, or that wasn't a mini, that was a full org.
Yeah, and it was
there was a 1-day mini, like sort of sequester, sort of Survivor style, which Bijan brought home the gold in that one, so that was awesome. Go Bijan! He got his win. I was very happy for Bijan to see that, and it was fun watching. I think that's up on YouTube. If you type in College Survivor Mini, I think it'll come up. That's something if you ever want to watch. I don't know how good it is in like a non-live stream format.
It's hard to watch it because it's like in different rooms too.
Yeah, it's not really the same, but it was hype watching it live. It was awesome seeing Bijan win there. So we move into Final Tribal. Not too much to say here. I feel like the Final Tribal is a little not high energy. I personally, I've told you this, but I don't think either of them put up an amazing performance there. It was kind of rough. But,
I remembered it better for Heidi than it was, and watching it back, I was like, oh.
Honestly, I thought it was a little better watching it back than it was at the time. At the time, I was a little. It was rough.
I mean, there was a lot with that. I felt pretty confident going into it that I was going to win and that I just needed to not mess up like that. So I was kind of afraid to be too abrasive, and like in addition to that, like I think Carolina, I don't know how if it's true, like if it came off on camera, she seemed kind of beaten down by it, and it didn't feel good to like go in. Especially because I show up and I have my sheets of paper, and Carolina's just kind of ready to go, like with herself. Just I think if I don't know, it was low energy, but I mean it was fun.
Notable speeches. I thought I liked. Well, Alex had a question. He's like, "Who do you think are the two best players in the game?" And both Heidi and Carolina. Carolina goes first, and Heidi jumps on that. They both say Bijan and Robbie. Do you guys agree? Who do you guys think were the two best players in the season? Alex, we'll start with you. Who did you think the two best players were?
I think that Heidi probably played the best game. I'm one of the people
besides Heidi.
Yeah. Okay. So no winners. I'll take out Carolina from the equation too. Just like the people that
it was the jury.
I think that Alex, he played almost a perfect game until he told Heidi that Bijan had the idol. I think he would have snuck into the finals and he would have won. I think Bijan would have gotten voted out over him in the final three, and I think he would have just cleansed up the jury. But he had one error and it just ruined his whole game. And that's like the crazy part of Survivor. You can have one mistake and it ruins your whole game. And then I think Bijan played like probably the second best or best game. And it's just one of those things where you get to the end and you're the clear biggest threat and you can't get through there if you don't win the final challenge. And it's just tough in a final two scenario, but it happens to a lot of people.
I agree with Alex. Alex, I knew Heidi won the season going into it. Midway through, I was like, did she lie? Like, is Alex going to win? She's definitely going to win. Like, what's happening? And then I saw the episode. You see it happen, and it's like goes into slow-mo, and I'm like, oh, God. Like, this is it. Like, he's played the perfect game. He's going to win, and then he just screws himself over. And this one move that's completely irrelevant to his game. And like Alex said, just that one mistake completely tore him down. It was so sad to see.
It was heartbreaking watching it back. I really dug my claws in. I felt so dirty after watching it, especially after Cooper's like romance edit with like the soft music talking about how much we love each other. Yeah, I think I would change my answer if I were to answer that question now. I think Alex and Bijan by far had the best games. I think Robbie got the best of me at points in that game, whereas Alex never got the best of me, which was my logic following that. And like mild Jerry catering. I wanted Robbie to know I respected him, so I'd get his vote.
I think Robbie outwardly was playing really hard and like was really into it, but that doesn't mean you're playing a good game. Like Survivor's more nuanced than that.
What about you, Cooper?
I was also, when I saw you guys both say Robbie, I was like, you guys aren't saying Alex? And then it made sense at the time, but I would have said Robbie too, but the fact that he was such a big shield, like he was basically like a shield for Matt and Barrett because he was just playing so hard, like so fast, and he was good at it, but he just had such a high threat level, whereas Alex was just like, he had like, I think if Heidi, if you didn't do what you did, Alex stays instead of you, I think he probably goes on and like replaces you as the winner if you didn't move that you did.
Yeah, I think Alex at least gets to that final three spot with him, Carolina, and Bijan. I think the tricky part is if Carolina wins that final immunity in the same spot, I don't think Carolina had the same relationship with Alex as she does with Bijan. So it might be that she just goes for the better friend there. So
I think there's a better chance that Alex beats Carolina.
Yeah, and Alex could also win that final immunity challenge. We don't know that. So yeah. But and Alex would definitely cut Bijan at the end. I'm sure of it. He would go for the.
I changed my mind. Alex was really bad at the nut stack. I don't think Alex would beat Carolina.
Yeah, he was very shaky. That's true.
That was the final five challenge.
The final five? What about it?
Yeah, the nut stack was final five. He could have. I don't know. I think it's different, like, holding. No,
we're talking about the nuts at like final 8 or something. Yeah. He did the nuts straight up, and he was bad at that.
No, I was saying that like I was confused at what Heidi was getting at, but I get now that she was like, oh, he has shaky hands, so it'd probably be harder for him to win over Carolina.
Yeah, someone said, imagine 2 Alexes winning. We were thinking that at the time, too. We were like, are we going to get a second Alex? I know there's this thing,
mad.
like, a lot of college survivors have had a winner named Alex. I mean,
It's like not even a lot.
It's a
first
base-
one.
It's a basic-ass white boy name, so don't really blame them all. But
No, I think Alex is right, though. It's specifically first season of college survivors are typically Alex's.
well, we had an Alex win, which was
We
exciting.
have to live up to the standard.
Yeah,
I want to be different. I'm going to interject. I think Matt definitely deserves that, like, one of those top 2 spots. You never want to be in a spot where you have to win or you go home. But the fact that everyone knew, like, hey, if Matt gets to the end, he's going to win. From, like, final 9 on, I don't think there was doubt in people's mind how likable Matt was and how competitive and, like, enjoyable to be around he was. Everyone wanted him to win. So they couldn't let him. That's why Heidi went for him every round.
See, I
to his
disagree.
face, too.
This is where I disagree. I think Matt, outwardly, at the time of the season and still looking back, I think Matt was playing the best game during the pre-merge. I think he had his ducks in a row. He had alliances on both sides. He was very good. I think where he messed up was he got way too close to Robbie, and no one liked Robbie. Robbie's allies liked Robbie, and anyone that wasn't Robbie's ally did not like Robbie.
At all.
So once he made that choice at the merge, I think he really should have just voted. If he had ran back to Bijan and been like, Bijan, I want to work with you, maybe they all target Kira. I think that's a beneficial vote for Matt, is to vote out Kira. So then maybe Robbie's a little closer to him. All the Moyahans still favor Matt over some other people in that alliance. Then Matt's riding the middle, and he can do some things in this game and not be like a slave to immunity wins. So I think Matt's post-merge game was not very good. He was likable. He could win challenges, but I mean, he needed challenges to get to the end, like very early on. But,
Yeah, we only saw one round where Matt didn't have immunity and didn't get voted out at the merge. So it's hard to know like what might have happened in those other rounds if he hadn't won immunity, because he could have easily just gotten voted out as soon as he didn't have it any of those other times.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so Matt had a speech. I just liked Matt's quote line. We do them in order, but we have the jurors like do their speeches in order of when they're voted out. But I think this would have been a good one to end on if we did order them. I think I liked how Matt said, "You called me the biggest liar in this game, Heidi, but I'm gonna tell you the truth right now. I'm voting for you." And that was cute. It was a good send off.
Heidi, did you expect him to say that to you? Were you expecting that?
No, I really wasn't.
I think yeah. Jeez.
Matt and I did not get along at any point throughout this game. I always thought Matt was a good guy, but I also think for my game it was beneficial to have a public enemy number 1 that was really inaccessible to me to vote out every single week, because I think it allowed me to play this honest game where like I wasn't lying to anyone, because every week I said I wanted Matt, and every week I couldn't vote Matt. So like I finally get to vote Matt out, and it's like from the jury perspective, they're like, Heidi finally accomplished her goal. That was her thing. But I'm not. Everyone else that's going out before that, like they're not necessarily mad at me. They know that they wouldn't have been my first choice. So I think going for Matt as hard as I did was both strategic as well as like I did feel betrayed by him voting out Shane. The other thing with that is what Ryan was saying. He kind of put himself in a bad spot at the merge. I think if he came back with us at the merge, I would have been fine with him. It was just that he stuck to that, and I was like, oh, so you just love these guys. And like you just hate me. But Matt and I were never on the same page for anything, like for a lot of different reasons. So that was shocking and like very pleasant, even though I felt bad for Carolina.
So, and then close things, another just last speech, I thought. Barrett was like, what are you going to do with the money? Charity? And Okay, we win $80, Barrett. Why are we doing $80 to charity? Let him get some money. What did you say for your answer for that?
Oh, I felt so bad about this one. I was like, oh yeah, charity. Thinking like, no, like, it's $80.
Hey, you didn't even lie. You said you were gonna go bowling.
No,
My
I think I did say yes, charity, but then I pointed to Maddie. Shane, Maddie, and I, when we first made our alliance, like within the first few days, we were saying like, this 3 to the end, we're gonna be so tight. Like if one of us wins, then it's gonna be sick. And if one of us wins, we're using the money to take the other 2 bowling. Like we're all going bowling as like the OG Jaskilka alliance. But
You never went bowling.
Can we get a shout out to his outfit? His outfit for the final tribal council was beautiful.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely beautiful.
and it was a clip-on bow tie. I will expose it.
Damn. I mean, yeah. Yeah. He's got. I think it's funny that Barrett's got that same outfit, Final Tribal, in like another like clip, like early in the episode. It's like when he's talking to Heidi and Carolina during the Final 5 vote. He's got the same shirt and the same pants. So that was a favorite outfit of Barrett's, I think.
quite a few confessionals, I think he was wearing it too.
I think he liked confessional with it too. Yeah,
he liked the yellow flannel. It was a good flannel. I respect it. It was just funny. There's a lot of Barrett in the yellow flannel, but yeah. So yeah, good send off for Barrett, I think. And then
my favorite part about that whole thing was he asked the money question, and Ryan looks at him and he's like, "Look, we're not really supposed to be doing this for money. Can you ask him? Ask him another question so we can use that for the show?" And he just looks at Ryan. And he's like, "No, I don't have another question." And Ryan's like,
Yeah.
Well, maybe we don't like put your thing in if you don't have another question. He's like, it's fine. That's the only one I have.
That is true.
I was like, I don't know if we should talk about like the money because like I don't know. It's like you're not technically supposed to have a cash prize because it's considered betting, but like it's what $5 from each.
They were playing for the money.
Person. You're not playing for the money. Like God,
It's like
It came up to $1 a day.
like
The winner earned $1.
Yeah, those are some slave wages for a gamble. So I don't for the amount of work you're putting in. So yeah, it's just a little extra thing on top. Like, yeah, you want a little money, cool. It's not a big thing, but like, I don't know, charity, I guess. But how much of that went to charity, Heidi?
I think I brought it to Bijan's party after to pay for Ubers, so no one had to like.
Okay, so friend charity.
I needed that Uber.
Yeah, Ethan needed that Uber.
I think no one actually took me up on the money. I don't know what I actually spent it for. I brought it to the party intending to give it to people for Ubers, but I don't think anyone actually took it.
Yeah, this guy says they made a kind of big deal about the $2 million for Winners at War. Well, okay, $2 million or $80, bro. Like, come on. Like little different. The money, of course, the money is a factor on the show. So that's like life-changing money, $1 million or $2 million. Maybe not $1 million, but like it's still huge.
It was a big deal in Total Drama Island.
Yeah, what's the prize on Total Drama Island?
Like $100K.
And Owen is like, I'll throw a big party with $1 million.
Well, spoilers.
Like, I'm gonna put it towards college, and then everyone goes and supports you.
Oh, Zubin, you were that Uber. You did drive me home. I kind of forgot.
Yeah, shout out to Zubin.
Zubin
with
saved my life
rides that night.
Oh, that was funny.
Ride.
Yeah, I was letting him
money.
Oh, I don't know where that is. Pay for my grad school. Ad, you're TikTok famous. You don't need grad school.
Yeah, Ad is TikTok famous. Check out our TikTok.
Everyone check out ads on TikTok.
Other than that, the vote ends up being 6-1 Heidi. Everyone votes for Heidi except for Maddie votes for Carolina. So very decisive win there. Derek's like, you gotta pay Cooper. Yeah, I don't have money. Maybe the winners of future Survivor seasons can just donate to the editors.
It's like tipping the dealer.
Talk about slave wages. But yeah, Adge paid a total of $14. She paid $14. I feel like we ripped you off, Badge. I don't think everyone else got
Maybe
charged
John
$14.
kept telling her that the price kept going up, and she's like, "All right, fine, I'll pay some more
Badge,
money.
I
I don't
might
know why
have
you keep
profited
asking."
those 4. I'm not sure. That might have been me.
Yeah. So yeah, 6-1 vote. I mean, I think
Congratulations,
we're kind of up with
Heidi.
what you expected. I actually,
Thanks, Chris.
I kind of expected Bijan to vote Carolina, but he said he wanted to vote in the majority one more time. So it was a little Bijan moment to end it off. But yeah, of course, congratulations. Very exciting to see you win and join our Soul Survivor club with Alex from UConn and just in the college sphere with Chris here. So finally, all 3 of you have aired seasons, which is awesome. And yeah, a great season, season 2. Another great season coming up, season 3. You can check out our boy Cooper Rock here in season 3. Very, very exciting. Very awesome to see him and the rest of the cast. Maybe something that'll come out late in the year, but no dates set on that right now. We got a lot coming up, and I got another season of UConn Survivor. I got to record in the fall or in the spring, so we'll have that editing process. I'm guessing won't start till this summer. So yeah, sometime before that, I assume. But we'll have updates with that on social media eventually. So if you're not following us, follow us. We'll plug all that at the end. But is there anything else you guys wanted to say before we have our closing thoughts?
I was just going to talk more about season 3, which is what I'll do
Yeah,
for the next
absolutely.
12 to 15 months. Cooper is an absolute gem in it. He alone is worth watching the whole season for. And I am also in it, and I think I alone am worth watching the whole season for.
100%.
It is one of the craziest seasons of College Survivor, Survivor in general. The twists, the turns, everything that happens, the gameplay is top notch. We have an incredibly deserving winner and some amazing moves and some of our favorite characters we've ever gotten to cast. It was a privilege to get to host it and be a part of it, and I can't wait to share it with y'all when it does happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Ethan taking over as host for season 3. I will be back after that. I took a semester off, and I'm in the background of a lot of season 3. I'm still in production, but Ethan is your host for season 3. Really exciting to see that, get a chance to see that season go through. A lot of great characters. Very exciting season. Definitely UConn's fastest paced yet. I think season 1 and 2 have their slow moments, but season 3 from the start is 100% going crazy and one of the best post merges in College Survivor.
One of the best pre merges.
Yeah, one of the best pre merges. That's true. I can't forget that. Yeah. So really exciting pre-merge, post-merge season coming up. You guys will love it. Again, we'll have more information out about that eventually. But yeah, before we I'll plug everything at the end. But why don't we go around if you guys have anything you want to shout out or talk about? Please do. But we'll start with Alex.
Oh man, well if you haven't seen season 1, you got to go watch season 1 because I'm in it. And I think season 1 has one of the best endings. The final 4 is kind of crazy. But yeah, I don't really have much more. Just keep involved with Survivor UConn. Keep watching because season 3, in my opinion, is the best season we've done so far. It's really, really good. So I'm really excited to watch it back.
All right, Cooper.
I mean, I guess I have to plug season 3 too. Like if you like this season, you're gonna love season 3. Absolutely. There's so many like people that are just so strategic and ready to play. It's so good. You guys are gonna love it.
Absolutely. Season 3 is something we've been excited for a while. It's been on the back burner, obviously, because all the seasons are recorded a while ago. Season 3 was fall 2019. So, I mean, that'll be coming out probably 2 years after it was filmed, but very, very exciting. Great season. yeah, Chris, what do you have to say?
I mean, you guys are hyping up season 3, so I'm really excited. So I want to watch that. But I'm going to go a different direction with my final shout out, and I'm going to shout out probably my favorite player of the season, even though she just missed the jury, and that was Kira. I think she was a great player. I think she had positioned herself perfectly. She just happened to be the shot that was meant to be at Robbie instead of her, and it kind of screwed her. But if there is an All-Star season, she needs to be brought back. I know it would have already happened, but she better be there.
It would not have happened, Chris. There's been no All-Star.
You don't know anything about
It's definitely not because that's your dog's name, right?
I'm demanding it.
Chris,
Chris,
your dog's name is Kira, right?
Yeah,
Is there a bias there?
yeah, your
Your
dog's
dog's
name.
name is Kira.
It's a little biased because it is the name of my dog, but she was
Her
very
for me, I love her.
Yeah, we've talked about it on other live shows. We didn't talk about it as much tonight because she wasn't really in the episode. But Kira was great, and yeah, she definitely played an underrated game. I think one of the better ones for sure. I think like her attached to Robbie was decent, and I think it was very circumstantial, like how that merge vote came, and one of the best votes this season for sure, and it got her taken out. But yeah, shout out to Kira. It was a good one.
I think if they hadn't completely screwed up the vote before merge and the vote after merge, I think she would have won the game. That was my take.
Awesome.
That's a hot take, but I like it.
I was very surprised when she got voted out first.
So I could just keep talking about season 3. But like I said, I'll probably be doing that for the next year and a half. So I'll take a slightly different turn. I want to congratulate again Cooper for putting together this great season 2. Thank our contestants, thank our crew, thank Ryan for being an amazing host for this. But my last little bit, I want to plug a different season 2 that's going on right now that I love that's happening is Survivor Syracuse is airing their second season, and it's got one of the craziest twists and some of the best characters in College Survivor. I've loved watching all of it. I'll be on their live show on Friday, so come check me out there if you're not sick of me already. But their season has been a blast, and it's definitely worth catching up on if you haven't already.
Yeah, shout out to Survivor Syracuse, great one. Luke's a good friend of us and great guy, great season.
Team Geneva.
And they're having a lot of fun over there, and we love seeing Survivor
Team
Syracuse
Austin's a good team too,
as well as Survivor Maryland, of course. But they just finished their season, so they have nothing airing right now. But if you haven't watch Survivor Maryland Outback and Survivor Maryland All Stars, that's where you can find Chris here. Survivor Maryland Outback, which Chris was on, is pretty much the first major college Survivor that was recorded. So if you want to see back to college Survivor roots, if you haven't seen already, I mean, again, the people watching a live show very much overlaps with people who've seen Survivor Maryland. But yeah, check it out. Great college Survivor there, Gen 1 and 2 channels. They do a great job. And other than that, I want to thank you guys for coming on the live show tonight. It was a blast. Obviously, our 3 UConn boys, and thank you, Chris, for stopping by. It was awesome getting to talk to you, and you're a college Survivor legend, so it's always exciting. I always tell Heidi it's exciting. I'm like, I know Chris Thomas. Like you're not like famous at all. Like, but like in a very
texted me the other day, like, I know Chris Thomas. That's so cool.
in a very niche way. You're very famous to me, so I love that, and you're an awesome guy. But
thank you for having me on it, and thank all of you guys for doing such a great work with the season. It was fantastic to watch.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. But if you want to follow us on social media, please follow us on Twitter at Survivor UConn. On Instagram is our main one at survivor.uconn. On Facebook, you can type in Survivor UConn. In Discord, you can on the Reddit r/Survivor Reddit Discord, you can always talk. We have a Survivor UConn channel. If you have any updates about the seasons, let us know there. I like talking to people directly there. We have a website which is in the description of all the main videos. If you haven't filled out the post-episode poll, definitely do that. That's in the description of the main video. I don't think I put it in the live show description. And great Survivor UConn content to come. Check out other college survivors in the community. And yeah, thank you guys for sticking around for another great season of Survivor UConn, and more great stuff to come next season. I'm excited to hand the reins over to Ethan and see what comes out of it. But do you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, check out season 3. Thanks, Chris, for coming. Thank you, Cooper, for editing such a phenomenal season.
Yeah.
It was so funny. The editing was so good. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Geneva, in the comments.
Yeah, some shout outs in the comments. Geneva from Syracuse and Derek from season 3.
Season 3.
Check them out.
Season 3 is a huge, great, amazing season. Everyone should check it out. I helped with production on that one while Ryan and I started talking because I was terrified of all of my own seasons.
Heidi's
Season 3 is the best.
transformation from fearing Ryan like no one else to where we are now. That's my favorite arc in Survivor UConn.
That's big growth, big story arc there.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's all I have for tonight. Thank you guys for coming by. We'll catch you in hopefully a near future with more live shows and more Survivor UConn. Otherwise, follow us on social media and have a great night. Bye.